Yeah, I'm ready. Thanks, John. That was pretty cool to see the automation that's possible these days. And we'll talk about that a little bit now in terms of what Solver brings, and that is giving you complete visibility and control from a CFO perspective into what's going on in both finance and operations. So just a little bit about the company, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the company, some of the pain points, give you an overview of our architecture, and then a quick demonstration. So we've been around since 1996. At the beginning, we had an on-premise product, but during this whole time, Solver is a planning, reporting, consolidations, and analysis tool. That's what we do. We're headquartered in the US. We have operations across the globe. Most of our development is done here in the US, but we also have a dev shop in Norway, of all places, because that's where our founder's from. So some of the challenges that are faced by CFOs in the manufacturing industry, you guys are well aware of this. Month end, it's typically a pretty arduous process. It can be pretty manual. A lot of more time is spent reconciling, making sure the accounts are picked up, that everything's accurate, versus actually analyzing the data. So our goal is to put you back in the driver's seat and give you more time for analysis. You can have limited insights into what's going on at the product and the plant level. With all this automation and data that's flowing, how do you get in the driver's seat and have really good visibility into what's going on across not just the organization, but right down to the product and plant level. Similarly, on the budgeting side, pretty rigid process. A lot of times the budget is, hate to say, we call it set it and forget it. We create a budget one time and we just go through the year with it. Maybe we reforecast every 6 months or at best quarterly, but how do you get into a process where you can just continually forecast and reforecast? Pretty slow, kind of reactive to what's going on in terms of supply chain disruptions and cost changes. And there's a lot of disruption right now in the market. So costs are constantly changing. And we'll give you some ideas of how to get a little bit better control of that and to standardize across different locations. So here's our architecture. At the center of Solver is a cloud-based data warehouse. So we take a data warehouse approach. It's a SQL schema that resides on Azure, and that becomes our single source of the truth. We have a pre-built connector to Business Central. So it takes us just a few minutes to start pulling in general ledger, payables, receivables, inventory data from all the different modules that you have. And we structure that data in the data warehouse so that it's set up for reporting and analysis. But it's not just BC data. We can pull in data from any other ERP. Maybe you have a warehouse management system or something else in play. We can load that in as well. A lot of times that data is round trip. It'll end up back in Business Central. But if it's not, we can pull it in. We also make it easy to load data from an Excel or a CSV file. Maybe you got something locally that you want to put into the data warehouse. Also, a Fabric connector. Seeing more and more data stored in Microsoft Fabric these days, but also on SQL Server. So we like to say any data in any report in any form is possible using Solver. So we have an Excel-based report designer. It's designed by accountants for accountants. And actually, this whole application is hands-off from an IT perspective. It's something that you manage yourselves. But once these reports are produced and published, they're published to a portal. It's a self-service portal. So any of your stakeholders, department leads, anybody's coming in to look at reports, input and planning templates, they come into a browser. So there's no emailing of reports. It just makes it very simple to automate that entire process. So with Solver, one of the things that we bring to the table is we have a lot, and I'll show you how to take a look at them, a lot of pre-built and configurable templates for the manufacturing industry. So it's a quick time to value proposition. When you stand up Solver, you're going to receive immediate value, but you also have the ability to customize and create any view of the organization that you want. It gives you a unified platform, right, for this budgeting, reporting, and analysis. You can automate the month-end process. It boils down to adding a new account or adding a dimension in a certain area. You tag it in one location, and all your reports and forms are updated. But we want to give you more visibility into what's going on at the organizational level, right down to inventory, product, uh, human resources, whatever you've got in the data warehouse. We also give you the ability to model an unlimited number of scenarios, and it's all tailored to your organization. But the goal is to standardize and automate this process across the organization. All right, let's take a look. I'm going to toggle over here. This is the landing page in Solver, and navigation is pretty straightforward down the left. I'm in a sample company today, and so everything that's in here, all the reports and the input templates that we have set up in here. Oops, somebody timed out. I guess I should have refreshed this a little while ago. But all of our reports and all of our input templates, these are all standard reports that come along with Solver. Our sample company, like I said, we're set up to, this is a manufacturing company. We make dog toys, we make pet toys. So if you look at our manufacturing data, you're going to see descriptions like chew toys and squeaky toys and things like that. So that's what you're going to see in the data that comes across today. And also want to point out that any of the administration of Solver, so any of the users, roles, security, all this is done by you in the Office of Finance. You don't need any help from IT. You can set up the security, so it's pretty granular, right down to the dimension level. You know, the goal is to set up a report, and depending on who logs in, they're going to have access only to what you've got them, what you've given them access to. All right. So on the homepage here, you know, I'm not going to, unlike some of the presentations earlier, there's not really a linear process to reporting and planning. So what I'm going to do is show you a few reports and how these render in Solver, and as well as an input template, just to give you an idea of what's possible in Solver. So I'll click here on report templates, and I can go between recents, my favorites, and everything. And I've got them categorized by, some of them are general ledger specific, sales, CRM. We got some manufacturing type reports that are in here, inventory. So you can categorize your report templates in any way that makes sense to you. What I'll do here is I'm going to start off, I'll go to recents, because I ran a few this morning that I thought might make a lot of sense. And I'll start with just a trial balance. And these are parameters. Right? So this particular report was run for period 10, and we can run this for a single entity or multiple entities. So in this case, it's just a single entity, the US. And if we want to drill down here on a particular row, we just right click, and you can see all the transactions. It just opens up another tab that make up that particular balance. Now, the neat thing about these parameters here is if I want to run a trial balance for each one of these could be plants, these could be locations, in this case, they're entities, and run this, you'll see what Solver does is it goes out and pulls the trial balance information. And then now I've got one not just for the US, but I've got one for EMEA and Asia Pacific and Canada as well. So it makes it really streamlined to get additional information, and just what you need. This is self-service. Come back over here and take a look at a typical kind of a P&L variance report. So similarly, we've got this set up, parameters set up to run it for a period, an entity. And in this case, it's scenario. I mentioned that you can have an unlimited number of scenarios. So if we want to compare actual versus budget or actual versus any one of our forecasts, we can choose that particular forecast or scenario at runtime. In this case, the report itself, we'll bump up the view just a little bit here. We're pulling actuals through August. We've got prior year's numbers in there, and we've got a combined total over here. And another feature within Solver is that we automate the collapsing and expanding of rows and columns. So here you can see that we pull actuals through the report date and budget numbers for the rest of the year and give you a combined total. And it is as simple as changing the report date to period 9. If I want to see this for the next period, I run it for period 9 and it updates actuals through period 9 and pulls in whatever the scenario is for the remaining periods. And again, we have some capabilities here as well in the rows where we've expanded and give the ability to expand and collapse. And again, if you want to be able to drill down, we've got this one set up so that you can drill into the account or transaction details as well. All right, let's take a look at a slightly different view of the organization. I'm gonna go over here to an interactive dashboard. So in this case, we've created a dashboard. Again, we have some parameters up top that gives us the ability to look at different KPIs. And this is created within Solver itself. So here we have an OEE, the overall equipment efficiency, which is really a measure of effectiveness, between availability, performance, and quality of what's coming out of the plant. And you can see that we have availability, performance, and quality as well in here among the other metrics. So you can toggle through the different KPIs. And this is one of those configurable assets. It takes about an hour or so to set it up once all the data is in the system. But again, it's a standard type of report that is available within Solver, and you can customize these as well. And one of the things that's I think really interesting here about Solver is if you look at the drill down now, instead of drilling into general ledger transaction information, we're actually drilling into some of the production information that has been summarized for the particular report. So we can see the items, all of our squeaky chew toys and whatnot, and what the run times were, downtimes, how many units were produced. And again, it's whatever information that you want to come into the particular report. In this case, this is the data that makes sense for us to produce the KPIs that we want to put on the dashboard. All right, so I think I'm running low on time here. I'm going to switch over quickly here to another tenant and just give you an idea of how our driver-based budgeting and planning work. I'm going to pull up something that's pretty common to everybody. This is a personnel planning template. And you can see in this case, we've got parameters for the entity, the department. We're going to pull up a budget and compare it and forecast to a certain version. And we also want to know what the last actual period was. So these are the parameters that make sense for this particular template. And what's neat about this is we typically load our starting information from like a UKG or ADP upload. Again, we make it easy to get that data in there. And this allows you to budget your to be hireds. You can also budget salary increases. We can pull in when this person was, what their start date was, what their annual hour salary, any sort of increases that you want to budget for at year end. But what a lot of people use this for is to on their to be hireds is to determine when that person comes in. All right. So this person starts in April. You're going to see that their salary begins in April, and everything has been set up in the back end to default to the right accounts. The FUTA information is in here for whatever state you're operating in. FICA caps are embedded in the system as well. And then right down to what general ledger accounts are going to be updated. So you don't have to budget at this detailed level, but if you want to, it's out there. The last thing I want to talk about is if you guys, there's a lot of information here on our website. If you simply navigate out here to the template marketplace and type in manufacturing, you'll get an idea of exactly what templates, whether they're reports or input templates or dashboards, are available. Anyway, thanks a lot, Amy. Appreciate the opportunity, and thanks everybody for your time today.